You really, really have to start reading the labels on your food because the people that want to build muscle, they go to the gym, they're the ones that I see eat just this awful stuff. I'll see people make milkshakes, how to bulk up milkshake and ingredient peanut butter, right? Nothing wrong with peanut butter, but of course they're gonna get the cheap brand and plastic. That's gonna microplastic. That's gonna mess you up a little bit too. But the thing is that they don't read the label on that. And do you know what that peanut butter is gonna be made out of? Vegetable oil or soybean oil. But vegetable oil is soybean oil a lot of the time, like 90% of the time it's soybean oil, but it just has to be mixed with other stuff to be considered a vegetable oil. And you might not think that's such a bad thing because vegetable oil, it sounds pretty alright. I mean, it has the word vegetable in it. It can't be bad for you. But all that means it has to be something plant-based. And plants aren't always good for you, like soy. Do you know how soy survives in the wild? Everything needs like a little bit of a protective mechanism for itself. So like roses are kind of spiky. If you ever touched like the rose before, like not the flower, but the part it grows out of. And peppers are spicy because they don't want mammals to eat them. But soy has a little bit of a different mechanism. So the bugs that eat it, the soybean plant will raise the estrogen of the bugs to hopefully make the bugs infertile. So then the bugs, they don't lay eggs on the plant. So once the bugs die off, they don't have a new generation, and then the plant lives, gets to spread its seed. Everyone wins except for the bugs and you, because you eat it too, and you're not as tiny as a bug, so you're not gonna become infertile from it. But it's still gonna have effects on you, and you probably eat a lot more of it than the bug does because once again you're bigger. But don't worry, there's going to be a lot of studies that are going to say how good vegetable oil is for you, how good soy is for you, hundreds and hundreds of bought out studies, obviously telling a bunch of lies. But, they are the first thing that pops up on Google anytime you look. So if you want reassurance on the food that you eat, just look that up. Because it is a lot easier to just ignore this stuff because this stuff, like the soy and the vegetable oil, that's just some of the stuff. It's really widespread, and you really have to read your label and kind of be picky with the food that you buy. That is going to be hard, right? It's going to be a lot harder than just going to the store and getting whatever looks good. You do actually have to read the label. But that's not the only stuff they put in the food, because even if you go to, let's say, a restaurant, right? They seem kind of fancy. Anytime you go there, they're probably cooking all the food. If it's like anything fried or anything like that, it's going to be in vegetable oil. If not vegetable oil, maybe soybean oil, but probably vegetable oil because that is usually cheaper. Obviously, if a restaurant does that, your McDonald's is going to do it too, and they're going to do a lot of other stuff too. Like, I'll go back to the restaurant example. If you get any dairy in a restaurant, especially in the US, it's going to have hormones in it. I mean, unless you go to some country with good laws for people. If you're in the US, your dairy is going to have hormones in it because they inject the cows with estrogen to hopefully increase the milk production, and that works great. But, those hormones, they're getting in your food too. And the weird thing is that if you buy like any dairy at a store that's specifically no hormones in it, they legally have to write that there is no difference between milk that has hormones in it and milk that doesn't have hormones in it. But the stuff that has hormones in it, they don't have to say anything. So I just find that weird that a healthier product has to say that the unhealthier version of the product aren't bad for you. That's just a little bit weird. But it's not usually called hormones. I think it's called RBST supplement, right? Supplement. That sounds a lot better than, injecting cows with estrogen. Then if you go into a restaurant, right, you're probably going to have some sort of meat. That meat, they probably use steroids on it too. Make the bull a little bit, or whatever you're eating, make it a little bit beefier, right? Make it be a little bit bigger, increase sales, right? Inject some steroids into it, some growth hormone, right? Inject all that stuff, and then you end up eating it. Like I said, this stuff's really complicated. It's going to be a lot harder than just, living your life to actually have to worry about this stuff. So that's why most people are really just going to ignore it and just do whatever. Because I don't think there's going to be really any side effects to it. But just because of that, because people are fine with that, that's why gyno is now somehow considered a normal part of male development during puberty. To have, it's just not a normal thing, and now it somehow is. because testosterone levels are declining, and they'll make a bunch of excuses for like, oh, older people are living longer, so they're part of the demographic for the testosterone levels, so they're gonna bring down the average. There's more fat people, but no, everyone is affected because of the stuff they put in the food, and obviously pollution is gonna play a role. And there's some stuff you can do for that, but obviously you go outside, there's not much you can do for it unless you wanna be like a super mask that you wear all day. But, this video is not really about restaurants. It's about you should read your label. So anytime you go in a store, a good rule of thumb is if you go, let's say, buy some fish, right? You buy wild salmon, it's going to say wild in big, bold letters on the front, wild salmon. Okay, but unless you want to buy farm-raised salmon, it's going to say farm-raised in little tiny letters on the back, right? Really hidden in a tiny little font. Because companies, whatever good they have about the product, like anything good they have to say about the product, they're putting that right on the front. So if you're like, let's say, trying to look if a product, I don't know, has hormones in it or not, that's not something they legally have to put. So if they didn't put hormones in it, they're obviously going to put that on the front because that's going to increase sales, right? They're going to put that on the front. But if they did put hormones in it, I don't think they legally have to say. So they're not going to put that anywhere. So if you can't find it, they're probably hiding it on purpose. Just like, anytime you see grass-fed beef, right, it's going to be grass-fed beef. Okay, do you ever see steroid beef? We put steroids in this beef. You ever see that on any product? No, you don't. Right? And your kid's candy is going to have soy in it. Like the little lollipops, they're going to have soy in it. Little Reese's cups, there you have, I think, either vegetable oil or soybean oil. I don't remember which one, but they're pretty much the same thing. And, even your dog's treats, they're going to have soy in it. And if you buy the really cheap dog food, that's made out of 70% corn usually. That's just barely enough for them to survive, which is what a lot of people do. That might have soy in it too, because, why not? That's why you have to really be, care about that stuff. Not a lot of people do. Like I said before, right? I'll see people on the internet, like teenagers, like, hey, how do you make a milkshake to bulk up? And they'll promote like that crappy peanut butter and plastic, and it's gonna have vegetable in it, and no one really cares. And this stuff, because they think that stuff doesn't really do much for you. It's not gonna be that bad for you, and it's not gonna kill you. But acne, you're gonna probably get acne from it. That's why a lot of people have acne. I don't even think acne should be that normalized in development. I think that's just something that's been happening in the modern era for like the last probably ever since the industrial age. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't think acne is a normal part of development. You don't see teenage chimps have acne. You don't see like pre-adolescent dogs have acne. You don't see any. It's just us humans. And I don't think we were meant to be created that way. I think that's just because of the stuff they put in the food, the pollution, and all the stuff they put in the water. And it used to be just acne, but now gyno is, like I said, I don't know if I said that or not, but gyno is getting normalized. This stuff should not be normalized. This is not how you should develop, and it's not genetic. It's because of your environment. The moment you start eating better, avoiding all of this garbage, like I said, and there's a lot more garbage to look at, like flax seeds are also estrogenic, like the soybean plant. They do the same thing, right? They make the bugs infertile. They survive off the same thing, but you're not going to see flax seeds as much. It's going to be mostly soy because soy is so widespread. Even your cheesecake is going to have soy in it. It's pretty much everywhere. So far, it's been pretty doom and gloom. It's been sounding pretty hopeless. Like, oh, it's everywhere. I might as well just not think about it. I can't avoid it. You can avoid it, but if you want to think like you can, that's okay, because it is going to be harder, and not a lot of people really want to do that harder process of actually having to look for the better food. But if you go in any grocery store, right, that's going to be organic peanut butter in a glass jar, right? Like the Smucker's one, that's going to be in a glass jar. You don't have to get the really cheap peanut butter, right? If you go to any grocery store, you want cheese that doesn't have hormones in it, you'll find cheese that doesn't have hormones in it. If you want meat that doesn't have steroids in it, you'll find meat that doesn't have steroids in it. And it's really not that hard to do, but it is going to be a little bit more work, obviously, because it's not just, you can't just walk in and take whatever you see. And if you have any farms next to you or a farmer's market, it might actually just be cheaper for you to get like a gallon of normal milk that doesn't have hormones in it, instead of the cheapest hormone-filled milk in a plastic bottle at the grocery store, because a lot of the stuff at the farms and the farmers market, it's actually pretty cheap. But that's not something that a lot of people have access to. So like I said, any grocery store is going to have options. But, something I haven't found in a grocery store yet is vegetables without plastic. I don't know if I'll ever find that. I haven't found cheese that's not wrapped in plastic either. And the ones that are in wax, like the Baybel ones, they're kind of just fed grain and it's kind of poopy. Yeah, but what I'm really saying is you just have to come on, read your label, you lazy bum. Come on.